Hi, I'm Billy, and this is the Unlock Your Child's Full Potential podcast, where we discuss how to teach our children the lessons we wish we had learned earlier, the skills that will give them a head start in life. No one teaches you how to be a great mother, and unless you had a great mother to emulate, you have no idea what that even looks like. I believe that we all want to be the best moms and create an environment where our children can blossom into the best versions of themselves. And each of us has uncovered some part of that truth. Let's tap into the collective wisdom and inspire each other to become the moms our kids deserve us to be. Hi, loves. Does mentioning the word sibling rivalry trigger an immediate and intense reaction for you? Does the dynamic between your children produce high levels of stress in your home? It could be the competition between the kids, the envy that one child feels for the accomplishments of the other, the resentment that each of them feels for the privileges of the other, or simply the personal frustrations that they don't dare let out on anyone else but their brother or sister. If you can recognize your family along these lines, trust me, you're not alone. Sibling conflict is an undeniable part of growing up with brothers and sisters. And yet, we can do more than just wait for things to get better on their own. Today, I would like us to explore ways we can survive our kids' quarrels and even turn them into valuable learning opportunities. My children fight for who's going to take a shower first, who's going to sit in which chair, who's going to tell me a story first. I get triggered even when they're in the other room and I hear the bad attitude they have towards each other. And then usually one of them comes to me to complain about her sister and wants me to take a side. Like the other day, they are currently going to this nature camp where they do all sorts of new and exciting activities like kayaking and fishing, and they can't wait to tell me about it. The trouble is they want to do it at the same time. We get in the car and immediately a conflict arises. Mom, I almost fell in the water at the lake today. And her sister interrupted her. No, I'll tell her about that. It's my turn to talk. The mood changes, I get triggered because they're mean to each other, and the noise level rises, which is a thing for me. I'm very sensitive about it. And maybe here's the place to mention this. In last week's episode, my guest Rashida Laxmidar talked about sensory issues and sensitive kids. And I realized my audio cup is pretty small. I definitely recommend checking out this episode. It's eye-opening. So anyway, while still deciding who's going to tell me which part of the story, we arrive at my youngest daycare, we get her, and then she starts babbling about her day and wants to get my full attention. Now I feel like it's 1 against 3. And you know what, guys? Even though all I'm doing is trying to hear them out and meet everyone's needs, the exact opposite is happening. When we arrive at home, everyone's pissed at me because in their eyes, I'm giving more attention to the other sister and I didn't find a solution to the problem. And I tried, you guys, with all the empathy and calm I could muster. I proposed that all of them talk for 5 minutes uninterrupted and then we switch. So there is some part of the story left to tell by the other sister. Well, 5 minutes was too long to stay uninterrupted and too short to finish what the one speaking wanted to share. And it actually didn't feel right anyway to tell the story in parts. And then I remembered, let them work it out. Support them by clearing the objectives. Each of them wants to share what impressed her in that day and not get interrupted by her sister. So let's find a solution that's acceptable to both of them and let them talk about it. As for my youngest, a 4-year-old girl, she's not ready to commit to an agreement like that. So I found it best to sit her in my lap so she can feel loving touch and can peacefully listen to her sisters. What the girls came up with was to each have a longer time span allotted just for her storytelling. One will tell me about it in the evening without the other listening, and the other will share about the experience from the previous day on the next morning. Again, having me just for herself. It was finally settled, and I was pleased to see that we didn't have that issue the next day because the girls were committed to the solution they came up with. And so I wanted to talk to you guys about our mindset around sibling conflict and give you a framework for dealing with it effectively. It's not something I came up with. The method has been around. I'm combining a few resources I have used throughout the years that help me get a better understanding of and deal with the heated arguments that inevitably arise. Most of us have been conditioned to believe that conflict is problematic, worrisome, and unnecessary part of life, and that our kids' sibling struggles say something negative about them and about us. Conflict can feel uncomfortable, but it's natural, and it's a byproduct of existing with others. We need to actually shift our mindset and believe that conflict is valuable. A happy and successful family doesn't always get along. No relationship is without struggle. We are all works in progress, and there is a collective learning process that's required in order to attain the outcome of peace and quiet. Harmony shouldn't be our primary goal, but rather respectful communication and connection with family members. Our responsibility as parents is not to control the dynamic and determine the outcome of our kids' struggles with one another. Our job is to support them in acquiring problem-solving skills while establishing and holding personal boundaries. Next time when you recognize a conflict is brewing between your kids, you can try handling the situation following these steps. Step number 1, watch and wait. Don't intervene until you have to. Let them practice the skills they already have. But don't leave them to struggle alone, because it can perpetuate an imbalanced power dynamic. If you're not sure if the situation is dangerous, you can always ask, is this a play fight or a real fight? It should be fun for both kids. Otherwise, it has to stop. Step number 2, calm yourself before getting involved. Bearing witness to our kids' struggles can feel frustrating, and we can go to extreme reactions. If we want to help our kids to calm their minds and bodies, it's key that we ground ourselves first. Our energy will influence theirs. Take a few deep breaths and remind yourself that conflict is normal and necessary, and it's actually a great learning opportunity. Step number 3, approach neutrally and have a warm presence. Remember, it's just two kids with unmet needs. There is no victim-aggressor dynamic. Start with, what's up, guys? Get down to their eye level to make them feel safe and get ready to listen. Step number 4, reflect what you see. In a heated moment, kids struggle to communicate their needs and are even less able to empathize with their siblings. This is where we can help. Try to verbalize what you see without passing judgment, using a calm and loving tone of voice. Describe the issue as a misunderstanding to be solved. This helps kids make sense of a situation and reduces the tension. Step number 5, welcome all emotions. In order to successfully problem solve, you need to calm everyone down. Take time to set aside the behavior and focus on the feelings. Listen with empathy and validate their big feelings. Step number 6, get everyone on the same page. Build context for what happened and how everyone feels about it. Ask questions, reflect, clarify, offer input, and empower them to speak up and set personal limits and boundaries. Hold space for everyone's needs and voices to be heard. Step number 7, show appreciation for the difficulty of the problem. You can say, that's a tough one. It might not seem so tough to you, but you can see the issue is truly troubling for your kids. Step number 8, involve kids in finding a solution. Rather than telling them how to move forward and make peace, give your kids the opportunity to participate in solving their own challenge. It shows them that we believe in their abilities and empowers them to take responsibility for future conflict. For older kids, I would let them handle it all by themselves and say something like, I have confidence that if you put your heads together, you'll come up with a solution that feels fair to each of you. Then I would leave the room. Step number 9, sometimes we need to take the lead. There are times when our kids feel overwhelmed by emotions or circumstance and need our help to move forward. Get goofy to break the tension. Redirect them to a different activity. or lovingly separate them and give them a chance to calm down. You can say, "It's not safe together. We must have a cooling off period." Step number 10, circle back. Working through conflict with our kids can't always happen in the moment, especially when emotions run high or other demands on our time leave us less able to problem solve effectively. And that's okay. We can always circle back later with our kids to empathize, repair, and brainstorm for next time. It's never too late to connect. Remember, kids are doing the best they can. Conflict is an opportunity for us all to learn and practice problem-solving skills. And our main goal is connection. And I would like to add that some children have differences between them, which are too difficult for them to resolve by themselves, or are resolved for the particular situation, but the issue keeps showing up in different scenarios. Our tendency as adults is to make light of their quarrels and dismiss them as just kid stuff and hope that they'll somehow blow over. But it's important to be aware that some problems persist and become a major source of stress and concern to children. I can give 2 examples from home. Mary often says her older sister yells at her all the time and bosses her around like she's her mother. Mary and Laura both say that their little sister sits around while they do all the work, whether it's picking up toys, setting the table, or putting away the dishes. A helpful approach is to schedule a family meeting to discuss the re-emerging issues and repeating patterns. First, we call a meeting of the concerned parties and explain the purpose of the meeting. Then we explain the ground rules to everyone. It could sound something like, "We're calling this meeting because something is bothering Mary. First, we'll be hearing from Mary with no interruptions. When she's finished, we want to hear how you see things, Laura, and no one will interrupt you." Then, we write down each child's feelings and concerns. We read them aloud to both children to be sure we've understood them correctly. After that, we allow each child time for rebuttal. Lastly, we invite everyone to suggest as many solutions as possible, and we write down all ideas without evaluating, and we decide upon the solutions we can live with. The week after that, we meet for follow-up to see if everyone is satisfied with the way things are going. To be fair, we still struggle with sibling conflict at home. It appears to intensify at times as my girls grow up and each of them goes through different development stages. But these tools do help in times of crisis and teach them valuable skills. I hope they will help you too. Okay, I'm hopping in for just a minute to tell you about the free resource I recently created. It's called the Connection Blueprint, and it consists of 5 tools that will help you improve the relationship with your child and create an environment where your kid feels seen, heard, and loved. After all the lessons we want to teach our kids require us to first have a trusting relationship with them so that they're ready to hear our advice and lean on our support. Anytime I feel disconnected and out of sync with my own children, I get back to this blueprint, put the tools to practice, and it works wonders. I'm sure having a loving and trusting relationship with your kids is a top priority for you too. So check the show notes and get your copy of the Connection Blueprint. Thank you so much for listening and letting me be a part of your day. If you enjoyed this episode or the show in general, please share it with a friend and help me reach more moms around the world. I would also appreciate it if you consider leaving me a review. Reviews are literally the lifeblood of a podcaster and help me so much. Don't forget to subscribe so you get notified when a new episode drops. See you next week.